Let me ask you something. How do you know this is real? The screen you're watching? The voice you're hearing? The room around you? You're probably thinking, well, I can see it, I can touch it, I can feel it. But what if all of that could be simulated? Not just the images or the sounds, but the laws of physics, your thoughts, your memories, even your sense of self. I know it sounds like science fiction, but there are real scientists and philosophers who think this might actually be true. And the scary part is, if it were true, how would you even know? That's what we're going to explore today. So, where does this idea even come from? Who actually thinks we could be living in a simulation? And why would they take that seriously? Well, in 2003, a philosopher named Nick Bostrom published a paper that flipped everything on its head. In it, he laid out a simple argument with massive implications. At least one of the following must be true, he said. 1. Civilizations like ours tend to self-destruct before becoming technologically advanced enough to create detailed simulations of reality. 2. Advanced civilizations could run those simulations, but they choose not to. Or 3. They do run simulations, and there are so many of them. It's far more likely we're inside one than in the base reality. And here's the thing, if that third option is true, we wouldn't just be in a simulation. We'd be surrounded by billions of them. Billions of simulated minds, all unaware, all thinking they're real, just like us. It's not a conspiracy theory, it's a mathematical probability. And it's gained serious attention, not just from philosophers, but from physicists, computer scientists, even tech CEOs. They're not all saying it's definitely true, but they are saying it's possible. If it is possible, it changes everything. Okay, so we've heard the idea, but is there anything in science that actually supports it? Well, that's where things get weird. See, long before we ever talked about simulations, physicists were already discovering things about the universe that felt artificial. For one, our universe seems to be made of information, not just stuff. At the smallest level, particles don't behave like little rocks. They behave like probabilities, like data. Until you measure them, they don't even exist in one place. That's the strange world of quantum mechanics, where observing something doesn't just reveal it, it actually creates it. There's even a famous quote by physicist John Archibald Wheeler. It from bit. The idea that every particle, every force, every field ultimately comes from a yes or no question, a binary decision. Think about that. Reality itself, made of bits, like a computer. And then there's the universe's resolution, the smallest unit of space we can measure. The Planck length is about 100 millionth of a trillionth of a trillionth of a centimeter. It's like the pixels of reality. You can't go any smaller. Time, too, might not be smooth and continuous. Some theories suggest it comes in discrete chunks, like frames in a video. So we've got information, we've got quantized space, we've got binary logic at the foundation of matter. Tell me that doesn't sound like code. Now let's shift the focus to us. Because while physicists talk about quantum weirdness and information theory, technologists are busy building simulations. Think about the last video game you played, or the last time you slipped on a VR headset. In those moments, your brain accepts something completely artificial as real. In modern game engines, we simulate entire worlds, weather, gravity, light, physics, even basic decision-making. NPCs can respond, adapt, and evolve. The environments feel alive. And with the rise of generative AI, we're starting to simulate minds. Systems that don't just follow rules, they create, they speak, they imitate us. In other words, we're building the tools that would be used to run a simulation. And if we're doing it now with our primitive understanding of the brain and consciousness, imagine what a civilization 1,000 years ahead of us could do. If we assume any civilization will eventually simulate minds, then why should we believe we're the first? Statistically speaking, we probably aren't.
Of course, not everyone agrees with the simulation idea, and for good reason. For one thing, there's no testable evidence. You can't run an experiment to prove or disprove it. And in science, if something can't be tested, it lives in philosophy, not physics. Then there's the computing problem. Simulating an entire universe, or even just one Earth, down to the quantum level, would take unimaginable processing power, way beyond anything we can even conceive of today. Sure, we cut corners in games. We don't render trees you can't see or calculate physics behind closed doors. But could a simulation that crude really fool a conscious mind? And here's another thing. Why would anyone run this simulation in the first place? For science? For entertainment? Would a super advanced species really be that interested in watching us struggle with traffic and taxes? These are fair questions. And the truth is, the simulation hypothesis might be logically possible, but that doesn't make it likely. Still, we're left with something strange. Even the arguments against simulation rely on assumptions about what's possible, about what real even means. And that question, what is reality, might never have a final answer.
Let's say for a moment that it's true, that we're not in the real world, that everything we see, feel, remember is simulated. What does that actually change? The sun still rises, we still love, we still suffer, we still ask questions, we still dream. The experience is still ours. Even if this is code, it's beautiful code, full of meaning, full of chaos, full of life. Maybe we are in the simulation. Or maybe we just built a metaphor for how strange the universe really is. A way to deal with how little we truly understand. Either way, we're here. Maybe that's enough. Because if reality is defined by experience, then this is as real as it needs to be.
We may never know if this is the real world. And maybe we're not meant to. Because the truth is, we've always been searching. Not just for answers, but for meaning. We look up at the stars, and we wonder if they're windows. We look into mirrors, and we wonder if we're alone. But whether this is code or chaos or something in between, it gave us curiosity. It gave us thought. It gave us each other. And maybe that's what reality is. Not the structure underneath, but the stories we live inside. You are part of something bigger, something vast, something interlinked. Thank you for watching.